Hi, Kathy here from Kathy's Cute Creations. Today we're going to be working on our murder mystery quilt. This is block 5, Murder at the Luau, and it is called Face in the Crowd. Now, I know I said on a previous video that we were going to do paper piecing, and I was going to do the pineapple square for the paper piecing. Well, it just so happens this is paper piecing. It is 4 blocks. I copied the blocks, and what I'm using, let me show you here how flimsy this is. This paper is a vellum, okay? And it is not your regular paper that you would use, but I've got this through when I do dressmaking, blouses, things like that. I use vellum to do tracing on, because you can erase it and everything else. But whenever you do paper piecing, for example, this is a pattern, and I'll show you here my sheets, because they came with the set. So here's the actual originals, and then I turned around and I copied them, because if I make a mistake, and I can always go back and recopy more. You do not want to use your original pattern, okay? Even if it's a one-time deal, you still don't want to use your original pattern, because if you make a mistake, you can't copy it. So keep that in mind if you do anything with paper piecing. Now we'll go ahead, let me show you the colors first. These are all the different colors that are going to be used in this paper piecing. And the directions say that they're anywhere between 2 by 2 and 6 by 6 for size. And then all I've got to do is have them cut out that size and then put them on this paper. And I will show you how to assemble a block so you can learn how to do it. What I want to show you is my pattern is actually giving you the colors if you're going by the colors. All right? So when you look at the sheet here, you see BG1. That's representing the blue color. It's not representing when you put it on the piece of paper. You sew it on the paper as the 10th. Start with number 1, which is A1 down here. We're going to use FF4, which is black. So we're going to the black one first. Then we're going to sew the second fabric, which is FF1, which is in here. It looks like it's sort of a brownish whatever. And in my case, my FF1 is actually this color, because I didn't want a brown. So this is what I've chosen. All right, so let me get you started over here at the sewing machine so you can understand it better. For the very first thing that I do, here's the pattern. I picked a really easy one out of the 4. Normally, this will be your stitching line, and this is the 1/4 inch away from it. What I do is I take my ruler, I put my dotted line for the 1/4 inch on the right hand side of the outside dotted line, and I take it off, and I go all the way around and do the same thing, so I have an idea how big this block is, because it'll be a 1/4 inch less if I calculated it right. If not, I can always add to it. That's one good thing about this. But I printed off copies. I did not, I didn't trace them. So they should be the correct size. I shouldn't have to be worried about that. Let me see, what size is it? Yeah, see, between the inside dotted line is 6.5, which is what it's supposed to be. So I've got a bigger than a 6.5 inch square. Now, I went ahead and I did a couple of them just to get myself in the rhythm of it. So let me show you how you read this thing. Let me turn it this way for you. All right, this is the color. Now I see that you won't be able to see it. And then these little numbers here are the in the order of how you do them. So this block is called D. So the very first thing you do is you're going to put the first color down that covers 1. Now the easy way to remember, because it's confusing if you come back to it after a while and then think to yourself, is it the top? Is it the bottom? I don't know what I'm doing. I can't remember which side of the paper am I supposed to be working on. So here's the easy way to remember it. You're going to work on the side. You're going to put the right side down so everything is backwards for you. You find out what your color is. BG1, which in my case is this blue here. That's the BG1. You need a piece of fabric that is going to fit over the whole thing, keeping in mind you need 1/4 inch on all sides of your fabric. So I have a whole bunch of blue scraps cut up here. So I take my scrap and I say to myself, it won't fit that way. As you can see, I got some hanging off here. Will it fit this way? It covered the whole thing. Yes, it fits this way. So then I want to make sure it fits. So I want to go beyond my block. So I just cut this off. Oops. So this is the right side. No, excuse me. This is the right side, which got the darker color. This is the wrong side. I know it's kind of hard to see on mine. You're going to put your right side up to you. Okay? I know that sounds backwards, but bear with me here. In this case, if you're new to paper piecing, do not try to cut out this shape and put it there, trying to keep from using a lot of fabric. Okay? Because this is the opposite direction. All you're concerned is it has to be over the top of it. You're looking to see where the second one is, and it says, let me flip it over so you can read it. It says the second thing we're going to do is we're going to be sewing 1 to 2. 2 is FF3, is this color here on mine. So I need a piece that I know will fit over that whole thing. Like this. See how it fit over the whole thing? That's what I need. And I don't have scraps big enough. No, that's not big enough. So what I do is I go over, I put it down, look at it. Let me pull it up a little bit in the camera so you can see it. I say I want to be beyond the right side. I already know it's going to fit this way because look how little it is. See, the fabric's already big enough. But what I want to make sure is there's enough on this side and enough on this side. So I'm going to cut it about right here. Right about there. So just slice it off like that. Now, remember we're putting, the paper goes upside down for starters. The fabric goes right side up. And then this fabric goes right side down, just as if you were sewing something for yourself, okay? Now, let me bring it over here. As you can see, it's like catty corner, because what's going to happen is you're going to sew it across here, then you're going to flip it like this, okay? So what you do is, now that you got the two pieces together, normally what a lot of the directions will tell you to do is take your first piece, put a little piece of glue, and glue it to your paper. I do not do that. I just make sure it's big enough. Flip it over so we can look at it, because you can see through the paper. I'm through the paper. I see here's my number 1. I see 2. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up sewing between this line and this line, because this is 1 and this is 2. So here's the line that we're using, is the one between the two of them. Well, I know that my fabric's gone all over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to turn my fabric a little bit like this, so you can see both the fabrics, and then I'm going to sew it, because what I need is that 1/4 inch there. Okay, so let's take it here to the sewing machine. Now, if you are one of those people that you think that you need to be able to see it and you need an open-toed foot, you can use an open-toed foot. There's no rules or regulations that say you've got to use your regular foot. The only thing that I suggest you do is take your stitches, go either to 1.0, anywhere between 1.0 up to 1.5. Well, mine doesn't have a 1.5. It's got a 1.4, so that's what I'm using. I'm using my straight stitch. This is regular thread. You can use polyester thread or cotton. It doesn't make any difference. The color that I'm using, because of this fabric, is white. I'm looking to see if I've got enough bobbin. I think I do. And on my stitch, it's the straight stitch. Now, I have two types of stitches. I have the stitch that when you push the backwards, it actually goes backwards. But I also have the stitch that when you push backwards, it just goes up and down. So that's the one that I've selected. Now, we're going to sew right along here, which is D1, which is the blue, to D2, which is that multicolored. And I do lock mine into place. They say you don't have to. If you don't want to, I'm going to. And then all you do is follow the straight line. Take your time. There's no big hurry. Because I'm going to tell you what, this is a booger to take out, and you don't want to rip your paper. Because I really don't want to make another copy. I get down to the end, I look at it, I can come down another 2 stitches before I'm done. Now if I'd have had the open toe foot on here, I could have seen it without lifting my foot here. Then I go ahead and I lock it into place. Cut it. Lift it up. I'm going to show you how little the stitch is here. I wonder where my picture's at here. See how little that stitch is? Now, you turn it upside down, you flip it, and the main thing is we're looking to see if it covered it. I'll bring it back over to look at it, and yes, it covered it, because all I'm trying to do is cover this little spot right here, and I can already see my fabric sticking out there. Okay, both pieces are flipped. Now, you take it, and you're going to, I normally come towards me. Let me back up a little bit so you get more. Along this line, which is the next line. Okay, so it's not the line you sewed, but it's the next one you're going to sew, which is going to be 3 to 2. You fold it on 3. Let's see if I can do it here. You fold all the way along the entire thing. And you can see it, and I'm going to bring it over to the table because this is where you take that little 1/4 inch, that add a quarter ruler, if you've got one, and you lay it up against here, and then you're going to cut this excess off. If you don't have that, you can use a regular ruler, which I'm going to show you. All right, here it is. There's the fold, and you can see the fabric. If, let's say you don't have this ruler here, normally you would take this ruler, you put it up against there, it snugs, it gets itself snugged up there, and then you take your ruler, your rotary cutter, and then just slowly cut it and move it along. Or if you've got a longer one of these, that's fine too, and then cut it off. If you don't have that, take your regular ruler, put it up against here, put it on a 1/4 inch sticking over, because that's what you want. You want a 1/4 inch seam all the way across here. Now let me turn this sideways so I don't block you while I try to cut it. Okay, so let's just say I don't have the 1/4 inch ruler, and all I have is my regular ruler. I'm putting my line against that paper, and then you just take it, and you go like that. You take all of this off. You fold your paper back. And there is 1 and 2 put together. Next thing we do, we flip our paper back to the correct side. We see that we need to sew a piece of fabric on here for D3. So I have to look for F3, which I know is that same pink color. Remember, that's what that is, the pink color. So let's get the pink color. Look, here it is. And I have to make sure that it fits that entire strip like that. So it goes like this, so that I can flip it over like that. So I need to have a piece at least this long. So I cut this. It's okay to have it bigger than smaller. And you put the right sides together, because when it flips over, it's going to flip like this. And that's the way you want it to flip. Okay? Okay, so I have it laid out like this. If you want to pin, you need to keep in mind that your paper, if it's really thin and fragile, it might rip. But if you feel safer pinning it, you can pin this as long as you're not pinning into the seam. I'll show you. Let's see here. So what I would do, if I was going to pin it, I would pin it up here, because you can take your pin out when you get on it. I would put another one here, because this is where all the bulk is. And that should be enough, okay? I could put another one on there. It's not going to hurt to put one down here. Now this is if you feel like you need to pin your paper. Whoops, I didn't even get it in the paper. Okay. All right, so then you take it back over here to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew all the way down this line. All right, and as you can see, the 1/4 inch through my fabric, you can already see it there. We cut off the excess. See, all these are right sides together. So we'll just take it back over here and we'll sew it. And then we got to sew on the side that we get to see the lines on. So this is the right side of the paper, wrong side of the fabric. And then I begin up at the bottom down here, and I lock it into place again. And then now I've got to pay attention because my pins are on the other side. So I pulled the first one out. I mean, you can see the pins right here, so we don't have a problem with that. Nothing's going to be shifting on you. Let's take the other pin out. Take the last pin out. Make sure I'm at the end. Yep, I got one more to go. There we go. And lock it in place. Cut it. Pull it out. This end always has a knot on it, whichever one I started with. And this will have a knot on the back side of where I ended. And then we're going to fold it over. I smooth it out. Now if you want to iron it, you can. Do not use a steam iron because that will mess up your paper, okay? Now we're going to flip it over, and then we need to know that this is the next line we're going to be sewing on. So now is when we're going to be folding it, because we want to cut all our excess off. So we fold it to us. Can you see that? Back up a little bit. All I'm doing is folding on the line, the next sewing line, which is number 4. This is where I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to take my 1/4 inch and I'll cut all this excess off. Okay, this is my other 1/4 ruler that I have. Make sure I'm in the picture here, okay? And just put it down. It fits right up against the groove. Now what I'm going to do, just to make this neater, is I'm going to take, this is the part that we use for the 1/4 inch. I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to use this end, and all I'm going to do is trim this off at the edge of this paper. That's all I did. I'll turn this one around. Just as my first piece, I'll do the same thing. It's just to get the bulk off, that's all. Now I'm ready for the next piece. It is FF2, which is this pink, like this here. That's my FF2. So I have to lay it over because it's going to go in this spot right here. So first I need to make sure that I have enough fabric, which I know that I do. That'll cover it. So I can cut it off right here. And let me iron it because it's got a wrinkle right here. Alrighty. I'm going to put the right sides together, just like this. They can overlap. When I flip this over, it's going to cover my area, so I know I have plenty of fabric. I'm not going to pin it this time. I'm going to bring it over here to the sewing room, and I'm going to bring it to the machine and sew it. Here it is. All I did was picked it up and put it up here. I take it, flip it over, and you can see where my seam allowance is coming out here. So I can actually pull this a little bit so that I have less. The only thing is you want to make sure that your fabric underneath is staying put, because you don't want it to move on you. Looks good. And I'm going to lock it in place again. Remember, we're attaching D3 to D4. Time and lock it into place. Okay. And then we're going to roll it over. We're going to smooth it out. Flip it back over. I noticed that it covered all of my spot. Now we're going to sew 4 to 5. So this is where you turn 5 over. This is where I make my crease in 5. And then I cut that quarter, I make it a 1/4 inch. So I'll turn it right back around to the table. I put it down. It's hugging that right there. Now I can go ahead and cut some of this excess off again. Remember, I'm going just along the edge here, just to get rid of the bulk. Flip it over. That's how much I have done so far. Now I'm going to take it over there and I'm going to go ahead and iron this on the ironing board. And here's the disadvantage of constantly ironing it with a hot iron. It rolls. Now I want to do the next color, which is FF3, and my FF3 happens to be this color again. So we'll take another piece of it. Let me see if this piece or this piece might fit. Let's see how big it is. It's got a little bit of a tear on it. Now this one will fit right there. So all I'm going to do is take this, lay it across there so that when it rolls over, I know it fits. So I'll just take it over here to the sewing machine. Don't forget, we're flipping it over because we've got to see this side. And I see my 1/4 inch. on both fabrics because it's sticking out on both ends. I'm locking the corner here at the end. I think I made it. Yes, I did. I'm locking it. Smooth that out. Let me iron it again. Okay, now you see we have another one. This was 5, that is 6, so we've got to do 6. So we're going to fold our paper back on the line, just like this. We're going to take our 1/4 inch ruler, put it up against there, cut that off, throw that back, and now we need FF1, which we have not used yet. We've used 2 and 3 and BG1, but not FF1, which is this yellow color here. And it is just a small little piece right there. So if I put this on it, I believe, oh, I don't know if that will cover it or not. Nope, that's not big enough. So let's try this piece here. Think that'll cover it? Yes. Okay. So we put it like this, and then when that gets done, it will cover it. So we'll take this over here to the sewing machine. We're going to flip it upside down. We've got our 1/4 inch. This is the yellow fabric sticking out that side, and this side over here. I can see both ends of my fabric. One more can go. There we go. There it is. I'll iron that, and then we're going to cut it around the edge. Have the the paper right side up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the excess off here. I'm going right to the edge of that fabric. The edge of that paper. Done. And now what these directions said to spray starch it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to starch this. Here's what it looks like when it's totally finished. And keep in mind that, let me see if I can flip my paper, that this is the 1/4 inch and this is the sewing line. So I'm going to sew in, let me get the ruler here. I can show you. So remember, this is the 1/2 inch. So we're going to be coming in a 1/2 inch, a little bit more than a 1/2 inch, because I cut this right on the edge of that paper. And then we're going to probably be cutting off a 1/4 inch when we meet. But in the directions for here, none of these are to be connected. They're all to be separate. So now would be a good time to know whether y'all wanted to see the last one done, because I've got 3 of them done. Or if you just want me to quit with my video. I don't know if you think you need to see another one. I can go ahead and do this one for you. because it's got little pieces right here, and maybe you feel like those are too hard. We would do number 1 first, this piece here. Then we would do this one here, which is 2. From 2, we would do 3. We'd be doing this line here. Then we do this little one here, 4. And then we would jump down to 5 here and 6 before we actually did 7 and 8. And then 9 is the last one. This is a white fabric and this is a blue fabric.